I'd actually seen the game before going out. Look, it was a fantastic game. But for me, it was Oscar Bob's goal. Because of the fact it was a fantastic ball from De Bruyne. His feet were just Oscar Bob's twinkling feet. It was a very, very good goal. But also, and I know this is an argument we've had for many a year, it was such a significant goal. It's the winning goal. The goal is about the glory.
This is your point. What is a great goal? Is it a brilliant goal, which doesn't matter, a Zlatan overhead kick versus England, for instance, in a friendly, or is it a match winner?
It's a goal. It's a match winner. And it is the occasion, and it is setting the tone. You look at Pep Guardiola, you look at his celebration. I mean, I'm slightly influenced by what John Barnes said about his own amazing goal at Maracanã. He said, well, it can't be considered a great goal because it was a friendly. And if it had been a serious competitive World Cup game, one of the Brazilians would have brought him down earlier. But look, Oscar Bob, fabulous goal, significant goal. And you just saw Manchester City, and now you know they're going to roll.
He actually had a bit of a warm-up for playing against Newcastle. I saw him. He played in the League Cup tie against Newcastle, which Newcastle actually won. He played the whole game, Oscar Bob. And I thought then, when I was watching him, I thought, he's a bit tasty. They had a bad first half, but he came into it a bit. And he really looked a bit decent. We
chatted to him in the mix zone. He walked through out in Saudi, where all the sort of journalists sort of gathered to talk to players post-match. And wow, I mean, he's as composed walking through the mix zone and chatting as he is on the pitch.
But of course, it was De Bruyne who was instrumental in the comeback for City, and City boss Pep Guardiola hailed the return of his star man.
I've been 5 months, and the people say, okay, you can start. It's not like that. It's maybe like Erling when he's come back. I've been 1 month or 2 months out. 8 weeks, 2 months. So immediately, maybe needs, process. And I prefer Kevin now when he have controlled the game, and we like Huddersfield. His impact for 30 minutes, 35, 40 minutes is so big. Maybe it's better that 90 minutes. That is what I think now, and hopefully immediately can play 90 minutes.
So Henry, De Bruyne, new haircut, new man, same old man really, in many ways on the field, and looks happier. He spoke about the fact that while he'd been injured, he got to enjoy himself and take a bit of time away, almost come back. Maybe he's going to be even better, which is scary for the rest of the Premier League.
Well, he's very much a family man, so he's been talking about the fact that he could do the school run, little things like that, sort of bonding with the family. But you just look at him as a player. I mean, he is on his day the best player in the country. I mean, I thought Rodri was magnificent throughout the game, but Kevin De Bruyne, when he comes on, I don't think there's anyone who really passes that. And like that, I know we could stray into Trent Alexander-Arnold country, which we love to talk about what a passer he is from an English perspective. But De Bruyne, those passes, they're almost like shots, the way he just absolutely sort of drives them in. And of course, he's surrounded by players whose first touch is so good that they can kill the ball and then attack. So, look, he gives them something different. I mean, I felt a bit for Jack Grealish.
Well, I was just about to raise it. I mean, with Bob coming in as well, coming off the left flank, and where does it leave Grealish?
It's a point made by Jack Gorgan in the Mail on Sunday. Pep tends to turn to Oscar Bob, and this is to quote Jack, Wolves away when City were chasing the game, Aston Villa away when City were chasing the game, St James's Park last night when City were chasing the game. Pep turns to his Oscar winner. He turns to Oscar. And he is, that's an issue for Jack. I mean, Doku played, but Doku wasn't really playing out wide for a lot of the game. He was playing through the middle. I mean, City was so narrow at one point in terms of their sort of more conventional wide players. But then you just looked at the fullbacks, Guardiola and Walker, almost playing like wingers.
Now, bit of a point on Newcastle, who, despite being the richest club in the world, can't spend the money. And Newcastle chief executive Darren Eales admitted in the week that key players may need to be offloaded in order to buy. He says that with new rules restricting sponsorship deals linked to club owners, and upwardly mobile clubs such as Newcastle are being prevented from closing the gap quickly enough for them to become the sustainable top six team they aspire to be. Eales joined us in the studio on this very show last month and told us something pretty similar that day.
This is the conundrum we have, in the sense that we know where we want to get to, but you've got to plot a path to get there. And that means you've got to be efficient in your spending. And again, I go back to Eddie and the credit with what he's done with our squad. We can't just buy a whole new team And I think he's done a brilliant job in improving the players that were there, helping them feel part of a squad. But our next part of the journey is how do we make that next step? So for us this season, it's can we get into Europe after Christmas? Obviously that helps because it brings further revenues. So every way we can, whether it's growing commercial revenues, whether it's, success on the pitch, we've got to work together to sort of hopefully get us into that top 6 consistently.
I mean, for Newcastle, people are sort of laughing, you've got all this money, you can't spend it. But it does make a bit of a nonsense for me of FFP. I hate FFP, I want it scrapped completely, but you're no doubt more rational than me about this. What do you think? Do you have any sympathy?
Well, first, we don't want Portsmouth. We don't want sort of clubs overspending or having issues there. You want the sustainability, which is the part of what the Premier League want. Okay, there's an element of the more established clubs wanting to keep the status quo,
because they got in before we had FFP.
But you can develop if you improve your financial revenue with your commercial deals. But also, there's one thing that no one's really mentioned in this, and I've been scratching my head listening to this, is that Newcastle, and you know this better than anyone, is a city where so much talent has come through the boys' clubs, whether it's Wallsend, Cramlington, whichever ones, and then have gone south. Players like Shearer. Okay, historically,
it's a bit historical. We're getting a bit better than that.
You are getting better, and you look at a Longstaff. I mean, Burns taken a long route round, and Miley as well, and he's got a couple of brothers as well who are sort of attached to the academy. So it looks like the new owners are being very sensible on that. And that, if you then sell those, so it's all this about, we're going to have to sell Bruno Guimaraes, and that obviously would pain the fans. But actually, develop more young talent. That's good for the national team. One of our own gives a special atmosphere in the ground. So invest more in the academy, because that doesn't come out of PSR, and that makes sense. So look, you don't just have to go on a shopping raid for PSG reserves. You can actually develop your own. Yeah,
but I mean, there is a fairness aspect to this, which I think we're missing. It's stifling ambition. It does stifle ambition, FFP. So you get some new owners, and I'm not just saying it because it's Newcastle. I see it with lots of different clubs. You get some new owners, and then you have to explain that, well, actually, you can't spend any money.
Sorry, Aston Villa seem to be developing okay. And, okay, maybe they've got one or two issues. Well, okay, but then this is the whole idea of sustainability. We have had too many clubs overspending, and one of the great joys of the Premier League is there is a balance there. You haven't got someone going in and spending crazy sums. Well, you have at Chelsea, and it hasn't really worked out. And they've obviously, they've been getting their lawyers to look at their PSR just to make sure that they meet it. I think if Newcastle are complaining about profit and sustainability, I would far rather look at what Everton have been put through in terms of 19 million losses. I think that's the fans have got every right to sort of protest and complain about that. I don't think there's too much sympathy for Newcastle at the moment. But it's the owners have always said it's an organic development. You get good people in, which they have with Darren Eales, with Dan Ashworth. Well. Yeah. I would be more worried if I were Newcastle about losing Dan Ashworth than Bruno Guimaraes.
Come off it.
Bruno's a fantastic player, but Dan Ashworth, in terms of your future,
I think we'll take a poll around the city centre on that one.
Well, I'm sure it'll be Bruno.
I'm not saying Dan Ashworth's not good. I'm just saying.
But this is the whole point. You are absolutely. You're about now. You'll get indigestion. What you want is someone like Dan Ashworth just developing the academy, bringing younger players in, financially sensible. But you just want to get out by Messi, don't you?
Scrap FFP. You heard it here. For loads of people say it.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, well, I wish it would.